Hey guys, welcome back to Caffeinated Comic Books. I am your host, and today we're getting into the Star Wars Age of the Republic one-shot, focusing on Obi-Wan Kenobi, greatest Jedi that ever lived. It's fact. If you want to try and dispute that, leave a comment down below, and I'll probably just respond with false. In any case, this is a series of one-shots. This is the first in a series of one-shots, rather, that takes place during the, how about that, Age of the Republic. This one, at least, takes place in between episodes 1 and 2, so Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. And it focuses on the relationship between Obi-Wan and Anakin. So kind of still new to the master and apprenticeship kind of game there. The art's great. There was never anything where I was like, I gotta turn away, I can't look at this. It was very consistent throughout. The tone of the story felt like Star Wars, definitely felt like prequel era Star Wars anyway. And the voice of each character, more importantly, felt like those characters. And that's something that, if you're a long-time reader of comic books, and you're still trying to read comic books, emphasis on try, that's something you don't always get, wherein you pick up a book from a character that you've been reading since you were a fetus, right? And you look at the page and you say, well, that's insert big name character here, Batman, Spider-Man, whoever, pick one. It's happened with all of them. But the words coming out of their mouth are somebody entirely different. I don't know who this is. And then you want to pick up the book and you want to throw it. But that's not the case with this book. This book was actually very well written. So let's get into it. The main premise for this one, written by Jody Houser, actually very talented writer, at least with regards to this. I don't think I've read anything else of hers. And the pencilers, Corey Smith and Wilton Santos. Admittedly, I don't think I noticed the pencils change. Interesting. The central premise of this story, it's called Mission, really creative with the name. They might have been able to do a little bit more there, is Obi-Wan Kenobi, while in the middle of a meditation session with Anakin Skywalker, receives a request from the Council, the Jedi Council, to go to a planet in the, I think it was the Mid-Rim, where a team of archaeologists have dug up what they believe to be an ancient Jedi holocron. Now, to the Council, this is a major curiosity. They said, well, go there, grab that, bring it back, let's figure out who this belongs to, because we have no idea. This is something that's lost to our records, and anytime there's something that the Jedi don't know, they're like, we want to know that. And so Obi-Wan's tasked with doing that, and there's a lot of jumping back and forth in time between the present and flashbacks throughout this book. So you've got flashbacks to when Obi-Wan was still a young Padawan in training with Qui-Gon. You've got flashbacks to the events of Episode 1, when Qui-Gon was tragically killed by Darth Maul. And Obi-Wan got pissed off, chopped him in half. You know the story. And they do this cool thing as well, where there's a lot of inner voice for Obi-Wan. And what's great, and I'll return to what I said a moment ago, is Houser captured the voice of these characters. They feel like the characters that I saw in theaters when I went to see all three of the prequel films in theaters. Obi-Wan sounds like Ewan McGregor's character, which is important to me, especially because Obi-Wan is my favorite character in all of Star Wars. And more specifically, Ewan McGregor's portrayal of the character, his characterization of Kenobi, is my favorite. He brought a lot of heart. He brought a lot of wit. And he also, towards the end, in Episode 3, he had his own way of trying to pay a little bit of homage to the great Alec Guinness. old Ben Kenobi. So that was great, and it's great throughout the book. One of my favorite interactions in the book is actually on this page here between Kenobi and Yoda in the Jedi Archives, where Obi-Wan is trying to research the planet that he's having to go to retrieve this holocron, and Yoda gives him a little bit of insight, and then Yoda recommends to him that he takes Anakin with him, and Obi-Wan's at first not about that. He says, I don't think he's ready. And Yoda says, that may be true, but he's never going to be ready if you don't help him get ready. And this interaction on these pages feels incredibly reminiscent of the interaction between Obi-Wan and Yoda in Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, when Obi-Wan is trying to research this, possible conspiracy in the Outer Rim. And the capturing of Yoda's character and Obi-Wan's character in here was great, because I was able to hear their voices while I was reading this. And this is preface, I was not expecting to give this much praise to this book when I picked it up. I was going into it with fairly low expectations, and I was going to be very critical of it as I was reading it. I was going to read it once to get the story. I was going to read it a second time to start critiquing. But I just couldn't really find much to complain about. Because the characterization of all of these characters that I grew up loving was pretty much spot on. I mean, I'm sure if I spent countless hours poring over each and every single page and scrutinizing it, I could find something. You scrutinize something long enough and deeply enough, you're going to find something that pisses you off. So it's better to be happy. It's better to enjoy things. When I pick up a comic book, when I spend, what was this, $4 on a single comic, I'd rather enjoy it. I don't know. Maybe that makes me crazy. But Obi-Wan takes Yoda's recommendation under advisement and brings Anakin along with him. And it's cool because you see Anakin enjoying getting to see space again, be among the stars. That was something that in Episode 1, he dreamt of. I want to be the first one to see them all. It ain't going to happen. They're going to destroy probably a few of them. And going back to what I said before, where we got a lot of this jumping back and forth in time, we've got, the past with Obi-Wan being with Qui-Gon still and still learning lessons from him when he was a young boy, not the young man that he was in Episode 1. And this inner voice that they do for Kenobi here is great as well, because hearing his perspective as events are unfolding seems very Kenobi-like. It seems very reminiscent of what a wise Jedi like Obi-Wan would do. And you got Anakin asking if he could pilot, and Obi-Wan says, maybe not so much right now. Maybe on the way back, or maybe when we get closer. And then you have this great interaction between the two of them, where Anakin is kind of upset about, feeling like he's not necessarily wanted there. And Obi-Wan reassuring him, hey, the Council is not all-knowing. They're not perfect. They can be wrong. They're only, I'd say only human, but I guess some things are, some things are kind of universal. Not necessarily just to human beings. No one's perfect. And, he tells Anakin, hey, the Council can be wrong. Qui-Gon felt that they were wrong about this, and he chose to take you on. And then that passed on to me. And Anakin takes that the wrong way. He says, yeah, he died, so you got stuck with me. And Obi-Wan's like, no, that's not what I was trying to relay to you. I was trying to make you feel better. Didn't work. And this right here, this kind of little fit that Anakin throws, or maybe not necessarily as much of a fit as just kind of a angsty teen moment, is very much like Hayden Christensen's portrayal of him in Attack of the Clones. And I found that funny and at the same time annoying because I did not like Anakin in Attack of the Clones at all. That said, I don't really think I had much love for Anakin in the prequel trilogy overall. But when they get there, they're met by the head archaeologist, and she informs them that, hey, it'd be really nice for you to hurry up, get your crap and leave, because we've had to hire bodyguards because we've been under constant harassment of these pirates who are waiting for us to dig up something of intrinsic value to them that they could sell on the black market. And we've been able to tell them thus far, we're finding like busted droid parts that are just of pure academic interest to us. You're not going to be able to sell them for diddly. There are no credits to be had in that. But this holocron thing is of some sort of a value, and she the head archaeologist knows that, and she knows that the pirates would know that as well. And that's why they hired these bodyguards. And so they finally find it, or finally retrieve it from her. But then, of course, that'd be way too easy if nothing happens. So something happens, and the pirates show up, and they're like, "Hey, we saw your ship. We know that there's something important here, and we want it." And Obi-Wan says, "Nah, you're not going to take it. We'll defend ourselves. You're going to have a bad time." And so, like, cool, laser sword. We want that too. Hand it over. And that's not going to go over well. He tells Anakin to, jump behind him, and then he does cool Jedi stuff, right? He slashing through their vibro blades. I'm pretty sure that's what that was called. At least it was in Knights of the Old Republic 2, before you got a lightsaber, you were stuck with metal. And, he's using force pushes, force pulls, and just, kicking butt. He's doing what we like to see Jedis do. Aggressive negotiations, right? And unfortunately, both he and Anakin let their guard down just for a moment. And Anakin gets caught by the head pirate. And he says, I'm going to kill him if you don't hand over whatever you found here and that laser sword. Obi-Wan says, don't do that. You don't want to do that. You're going to have a bad time. And of course, it doesn't go well for him. So he gets blasted in the back of the head by these rocks, and they leave it somewhat ambiguous, unless I'm just blind, which I suppose is entirely possible. But it could go one of two ways. It could be Anakin used the Force to control those rocks, and that was kind of harkening back or alluding back to him controlling pebbles in the Jedi Temple that he had, while he was meditating, Obi-Wan was having him hold and sustain this pile of pebbles in an inverted pyramid, which was really cool. I can't do that. I don't have force powers. So I guess that's part and parcel to that. But I guess the more likely scenario is that Obi-Wan, being a badass and incredibly adept with the Force, is the one that controlled the stones and blasted those into the back of the guy's head. And that was kind of the end of that. And afterwards, when they get back onto their ship, Obi-Wan says, "Hey, you did good. You did a good job, keeping your cool there. Don't worry about, getting caught there. I'm sorry that happened, but I'm glad you're okay. I think I remember you saying you wanted to fly the ship. How about you take us home?" It was a short story. Not a lot happened in terms of actual events. This is one of those things where a lot of internal things happened, where it was a lot more about character development, a lot more about interpersonal relationships, as opposed to big events, as opposed to typical plotline stuff. And I very much enjoyed it. I was not expecting to give this book nearly the praise that I did, but after having read it a couple of times, I can't help but like it. It was great, and I'm absolutely going to check out the next ones. Okay, yeah, here we go. So it's Django is the next one. A lot of Mandalorian fans and Bounty Hunter fans from Star Wars will really enjoy that one, I'm sure, assuming it's going to be good. And then this one was Age of the Republic Special. So we got Vader. Is that Commander Cody? Maybe that's Commander Cody. And Darth Jar Jar. And we got Ventress? I think that's Ventress. Interesting. So I'm actually really curious because it looks then that this one appears to take place in between episodes 2 and 3 during the Clone War period. And I'm wondering if that's going to be the case with this one and this one as well. In fact, probably all of these will, now that I think about it, because he didn't last through episode 3. This appears to be just prior to episode 3, as Anakin has that scar, but his hair is not quite as long as it was in episode 3, so that might be a year or so prior. But anyway, if you guys are fans of Star Wars, check this out. You know, I've been seeing a lot of videos on YouTube and reading a lot of articles saying that, you know, Star Wars comics they're kind of just throw them in the trash heap. And maybe that's true for a lot of them. I honestly couldn't tell you. But it wasn't the case with this. This was a good read. I really enjoyed it. The art was super consistent. It fit the tone. The characters' voices actually sounded like the characters. They read like the characters they were supposed to be. So props to the creative team for this book. And I'm sincerely looking forward to the next ones. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys plan on reading this. Let me know if you agree or disagree with me that Obi-Wan is the greatest Jedi to have ever lived. I'll probably just reply saying that you're incorrect. But hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. It really helps. Hit the subscribe button as well if you're not subscribed to the channel. Ring the bell for notifications. And I'll be back with more comic book reviews later on.